Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to watch the latest episode of David Needs a Job. Now, before I begin with the fifth episode of this series, I want to apologize for any background noise that you might be hearing right now. What's happening is that my landlord, which happens to be a company, in this company's infinite wisdom, has decided to do reconstruction work on the outside of my apartment, the concrete in the balconies. Not in the springtime, not in the fall, but in the heat of summer. We're in the middle of a heat wave right now. So in order for this to happen, we as tenants have been instructed to close the windows and not use air conditioning. So as you can imagine, it's pretty stifling in here. As I said, we're in the middle of a heat wave, and the temperature of my apartment has gone up as high as 35 degrees Celsius. Now, 35 degrees Celsius, in case you guys use the old Fahrenheit system, is around close to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It is very hot, and so if I look rather sweaty, if I sound a little wispy today, it's because it is really quite hot in here right now. But that's okay. I have my bottle of water to keep me cool. I might end up going to the washroom a few times today, but at least I'll be cool. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm not here about talking about keeping cool in a heat wave with the windows closed. I am here today to talk about an article that was written in Thursday, June 27th edition of the Toronto Sun, which is one of three dailies that run here in Toronto. And there is a fantastic columnist by the name of Mike Strobel, who is currently handling the City Hall, or as we like to call it, Silly Hall news beat. And he wrote an article that was very interesting. It also got my blood boiling. And the article says, "Good time on our dime." Now, what he wrote about today was rather interesting. It's about how much money City Hall sends to certain groups in Toronto, and it happens to be our tax dollars that they're doing this with. For example, the Gay Pride Parade receives $140,000 from City Hall. The Canadian Opera Company gets $1.3 million a year in city tax funds. The National Ballet and the Toronto Symphony get about $1.1 million each, so that's $2.2 million in total. Luminato, $200,000. Caravana, $494,000. Now, I've never even heard of this museum before, and I don't make up names like this, but here it is. Here we go. The Gardner Museum. I'm sorry, live video. You gotta love this. The Gardner Museum of Ceramic Art gets $135,980. And as he puts it, good news if you're sick of looking at your Tupperware. It gets even worse. Bikes Without Borders, $16,800. Black Daddy's Club, $50,000. Buddies in Bad Times Theater, $119,200, and the Bulgarian Arts Collective, $4,000. Well, that's bloody good if you're Bulgarian and you happen to have love art. Okay, this is like just pissing me off. I have nothing against groups like this. I have nothing against any group standing up for a certain group of people who might feel impoverished or not represented in society. That is what's so great about democracy. I am all for the idea of having organizations stand up for groups that may not feel like they're getting their whatever up front and support it. But you know, I've used this comment many times in my past episodes. We are living right now in an age of austerity. We are living in a jobless recovery. We have got to make the tax dollars that we send to our local government, all three levels of government in fact, they have to work. They have to be used in the most responsible way. Now, the numbers that I have listed here right now are absolutely mind-boggling. I probably just ran off a few numbers and I did a quick tally, and it's probably between $3 and $4 million a year that's being sent to these groups. Now, the thing is, these organizations cater to only a select group of people that are not necessarily part of the mainstream. Like, you know, I'm not against the symphony. I believe in culture, I believe in art, but I'm going to tell you right now, I live in Toronto. I've lived in Toronto for almost 50 years, and not every one of us happen to be art fans. We're more like Argo fans, okay? So why are we sending so much money to an art gallery when only a scant number of people are going there. And let's talk about the Gay Pride Parade. Again, I'm not against homosexuality. I'm not against gay people, lesbian, transgender, free-spirited, trans-warp, whatever you want to call yourselves. I am not against that. I will fight and defend you guys. If you feel like you're being bullied or marginalized in society, that's who I am as a person. But the line has to be drawn in the sand when I see that amount of money being put toward a group such as the Gay Pride Parade, which in fact they could conceivably sustain themselves if they decide to charge admission. And why not? Let's go with that. Why can't we have these organizations and these groups stand up for themselves by either charging admission if they happen to be like a cultural event, or maybe go for corporate sponsorship rather than go for City Hall? I mean, let's face it, corporations love being the nice guys. They love the PR that comes from charity work. I mean, you know, there's a lot of companies here in Toronto that happen to fund their own little organizations and groups, and that's good PR. You know, PR sells products. And now you're probably saying, well, what does this have to do with your job search? What does that have to do with unemployment? Well, I'll be glad to share that with you, ladies and gentlemen. That amount of money alone in Toronto could go to so many people who are low income or not working, such as myself. We in Ontario do not have dental care covered, and there's nothing wrong with taking that money that we have just listed for these groups and instead putting it toward a municipal program so that immigrants coming to this country, low income earners, or even people like myself who are out of work who need dental work can go get free dental work so we don't end up losing our teeth. How about career transition programming for mature workers such as myself? I'm 49 years old. I can't seem to find work in the IT field. Well, maybe I can be trained for something else. But the problem is I don't have the money, the moolah, cash, dinero, whatever to get funding. And I don't qualify for some of the government programs because of my age. So why not use that money instead to benefit people who are looking for a job, who have no job, who maybe have a job that doesn't pay very well and they want to get their own home. Maybe they need some things to help them go back to school so they can earn a better dollar. You know, even if it has nothing to do with unemployment, even if it has nothing to do with helping people out in terms of looking for work, I just endured at the beginning of this year a 30-hour power outage on my street where the electrical system in Toronto, and I kid you not, certain parts of the electrical grid in Toronto, it's about as old as I am, 49 years old. It's really old, and they have not been replaced. And Toronto Hydro keeps saying, oh, we don't have the money to replace it. Okay, fine. We don't seem to have the money to replace water pipes that leak, our electrical system that fails, but we seem to have, for some strange reason, enough money to fund these organizations. I mean, it's ludicrous. It's silliness. That's why it's probably called Silly Hall instead of City Hall. But this is what I'm trying to get at in today's episode. I think with the situation that we have right now, with the high amount of unemployment that we have in this country, in Canada, I honestly believe that this money can be put to better use. I honestly think that these organizations should sink or swim. They should be able to either stand up on their own 2 feet or at least prove that the amount of money that we are giving them can be put back for the betterment of society. Or let's face it, maybe you guys better start charging admission or charging membership fees or whatever, and don't come to the city for help when you got people like me who can't even find a job despite my qualifications, despite the fact that I've never been fired from my last job and I'm having a hell of a time finding a job. In any case, this is the end of my episode. I thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again in episode 6. Have yourself a good day, and keep cool. Bye for now.